Alright, hello, welcome to Ben's OP Game Show, recorded live at 3 p.m. Pacific Time. 3 p.m. Pacific Time every Friday, twitch.tv/TheGameFanatics. On this week's show, going to be talking about Breath of the Wild's DLC, first pack of DLC, and Hollow Knight. One of these things I really loved. The other, just okay. But which could it be? Which could it be? But first, let's take a look at some of the top stories of the week. Really, that's just Force of Habit. It's one story, and it's not even really that big of a story, but it is something that I want to talk about. And that is the whole deal with Anthem. So this is the reveal video for gameplay of Anthem, which shows, as you might have heard, the correct button prompts, because this video was uploaded to the PlayStation channel and there was kind of these photoshopped or After Effects or whatever buttons that were for PlayStation just over the Xbox One X buttons. And that kind of got into this little problem. They took the video down. That's a whole separate issue. The thing with this is, it's not new. This has happened before many times. And I'm still impressed that people seem to think that any of this was real. Any of it. I don't buy it for a second. But let's take a look at something else. Because if you compare BioWare's other big release of recent years, Mass Effect Andromeda, there's a very clear disrespect and disregard that was given to Mass Effect. So I wrote down a couple of these things, and we'll actually kind of go into it. So in this reveal, which happened in June of 2017, we're going to get dates for everything. We have 6 minutes, and you're seeing some of it right now, about 6 minutes of pure gameplay. There are some cuts in it, but you're flying around the jungle, and it's not a pre-rendered thing. It seems very, this is what the game could be, and that's great. Now let's compare and contrast to what happened with Mass Effect, which is a very different tale. This is one of the trailers. This is, I believe, the official reveal trailer for Mass Effect Andromeda. Anyway, so we have right here, June 9th, 2014, EA revealed that BioWare was working on 2 projects, Mass Effect Andromeda and some unknown thing, which is now Anthem. So they revealed these games at roughly the same time, and during that reveal, which is not being shown, they showed some things that were from both. So some of those vistas or whatever, because most of it was just vistas, could be from Anthem. That's interesting. Now the red tree was in that video. Then we move on to Mass Effect's official reveal, June 15th, 2015, with a CG trailer and some concept art. Still not a lot. Still almost a full year from release. Still don't have anything. We get to, or actually 2 years. 2 years away from release. Still no gameplay. Now, on June 12th, 2016, not even 2 minutes long is the trailer. That's this trailer, I believe. Most of it having these dev shots of people around computers and some in-engine looking stuff, but not actual gameplay. Nothing's really shown being shot or being talked to, the 2 primary things you do in Mass Effect and Andromeda, or Mass Effect in general. And then we get some actual gameplay shown on September 7th at the PlayStation Pro reveal. This is the 4K footage. Now that gameplay, again, doesn't show combat and doesn't show talking to people, but we do get that here in this video that's being shown on December 1st. November 7th had nothing for the game, really. Nothing tangible or real that we can sink our teeth into. December 1st, 2016, 5 minutes of actual gameplay was shown for Mass Effect Andromeda. And the game was, of course, released, March 21st, 2017, 3.5 months later after a gameplay reveal, which we are watching right now. Now let's take a step back. let's assume, and this is a wild assumption that I don't believe for a second, because as I said at the top, I don't believe really anything we saw from Anthem as being real. I don't believe it's going to come out next year, but let's assume. Let's assume this is real. This is the game. It's coming out fall 2018. Let's assume. Let's make those assumptions, right? Let's assume November 2018. If that's true, that will have meant they showed this gameplay bit, regardless of how unrealistic it is from the final version. That's irrelevant. It will have been shown 17 months before the game came out, compared to the 3.5 months that we got for some finally got some Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay. Now, here is the problem, because this isn't a video or rant about Anthem not being real or whatever. Look how far along, even I believe this combat more than I believe the world this is in. Look how much further along this is compared to anything that was shown in the Mass Effect Andromeda video just like 2 minutes ago. Way further along. It's not cutting all over the place. There aren't enemies getting glitched into things, which were in that video. The Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay official reveal video had glitches in it. Shown in it. Unbelievable how that happened. The editing alone in that video at certain points was terrible. And then we get this. The big hurrah for BioWare. This is amazing, impressive, so many words we can use to describe it. This is what Andromeda needed. What did Andromeda get? Andromeda got 3 E3s in a row of almost nothing. 2 that were primarily just over the shoulder of computers and devs looking at the camera, and 1 that was just kind of Mass Effect-y. And here is the big point. These games were technically revealed at the same time. That's what I brought up at the beginning of all this. In June of 2014, this was the other project they were working on. Obviously, the Mass Effect one was going to be first because it was named and it was being talked about like that. But we knew this was coming too. We knew there was an unnamed project coming from BioWare. And that's Anthem. And what I can't understand is why EA intentionally sent Andromeda to die so obviously. There's so many reasons as to why you do this, why you'd look at a game and go, we need to delay it. It doesn't matter. You're fucking EA. You don't need to meet your quarter financials. You don't need to kill a franchise to meet your financials. Or whatever. The very fact that 2 weeks after Andromeda came out, there was a patch that fixed a bunch of things, pretty much proves my point. They just couldn't wait, and they had to get that game out. And they knew, they knew that it was going to die. It had to die. There was nothing else to do with it. And they let it die. They could have delayed that game 9 months to roughly a month or so from now and had an entirely different thing of how this plays out, right? Like, it's crazy to me that they killed one of their biggest franchises, one of their franchises that isn't about the military in World War I or whatever, or isn't sports. And they intentionally killed it and that studio for what? So it wouldn't release so close to their other space franchise that this is? It doesn't make any sense. And there's so much. I know there was a lot going on behind the scenes with Andromeda, but really, it doesn't matter. You could have given that game some time, and it didn't have to end up the way it did. You sent it out to die. You knew you were killing it. You knew you were killing Mass Effect. EA, you knew it. You 100% knew it. And anything else that you say about it is a lie. That you knew you were killing that game. These devs pay for mock reviews. They know what's going to happen. Okay? They know. You know what's wrong with your game. You know. And you also know a big-ass company like that could have just waited on the game. It didn't need to come out then. It really didn't. And it's another mistake. In a series of mistakes EA has been making, I think, for years. All the way back to that E3, which I think was 2014 when they showed off the one trailer I keep mentioning, where it was just a bunch of dev diaries and like no games. Or them releasing Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 a week apart. Or 2 weeks. Like, what was that about? They just don't seem to understand what they're doing in that respect. In a way, like, you could have delayed Titanfall 2 and it could have come out in February, the beginning of February, and people would have ate that shit up, but you sent it to die. EA has killed 2 franchises in less than a year. And 3, because you could start with last June with Mirror's Edge. They've killed 3 franchises in a year, 2 of which really are their fault. Mirror's Edge, I don't know if we could have salvaged that. Who knows? That just might be people not interested. But they sent Titanfall to die, and they sent Mass Effect to die. What are they doing? What exactly is going on? I don't get it. I don't buy it, and I don't like it. And I also, the more I watch this Anthem gameplay, the more I'm into it, the less I trust it. I don't trust any of this. Although I am super down to be flying like Iron Man. That's besides the point. This isn't real. And Mass Effect Andromeda was an inside job. There was someone on the grassy knoll who let it happen. There's a dog outside barking. I think it's related. It's all related. Anyway, that's enough. That's long enough on this. Let's move into the actual topics of the show. Look at him. Look at him. He's like a little Iron Man man. Pew 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 pew. Ba-da-ba-ba. Enough of that. Enough of that. This is the problem with having so many mice. Too many mice problems over here. Let's talk about something a little bit more exciting, depending on who you ask. Breath of the Wild's DLC, the first set of it. Now, this footage is not going to show any of the DLC, partially because I didn't record any, because there's really not a lot to talk about. In my opinion, the DLC is broken up into 3 pieces. So let's start with piece 1. Piece 1, all the nice, nostalgic garbage you can pick up. That's great. That's really cool. I like that. It's handled super well, where it just gives you the quests in your book, and you go and find it, and you follow the clues, and, oh, okay, let me go over here. It's weird how most of it is in Hyrule Field, but okay, sure. Makes sense. I guess it's an early part of the game. If you just got the game, you can go get the nice armors and the Majora's Mask and all that. That's cool. That's fine. Totally like that. That takes a couple hours, and you'll have pretty much collected everything that the game offers now. You can dress up like Tingle. You can dress up in the Phantom Hourglass armor, which is awesome, by the way. Like, way cooler than... I think that's my favorite set, visually, of all the nostalgic stuff. Like, it's cool to be Tingle or whatever, or anything like that, but Majora's Mask on, and then the armor, that looks great. And all that stuff is a fun time. It's light, it's very bare bones, which is kind of what the quests in Breath of the Wild are in the first place. They're not these super involved things at all. And then we get to part 2 of this content, and that is the Trial of the Sword, whatever you want to call it. And so this requires you to have the Master Sword, and then you go and you put it in the little slot, and you go do these challenge rooms. And it's 3 sets of 15 of these trials. And each one tasks you with beating the enemies in the room. And you start with nothing. Obviously, you're using your bombs to kind of do things early on, and using your wits, deflecting attacks, using the flurry rush or whatever it's called. That's integral, right? And it's fun. I really like the idea of the trials. But I think the execution of it kind of highlights the most frustrating and annoying parts of Breath of the Wild. You die and it's a game over, and that's fine and all, but I don't want to play this thing for 30 minutes and then lose and have to do it all again. Like, I'm just not at that point in my life anymore where that's worth my time. It's cool and it's fun. I think it's way more difficult than it has to be, especially considering, like, I did all the shrines, I've done everything. It's not fun to have 7 archers shooting bombs at you while you're swimming in the water. Like, that's not fun to me. It's not fun to fight things. It still has all the annoying parts of the combat where, oh, this random guy came out of nowhere and he hit me for 12 hearts. I'm like, well, like, fuck, man. Like, that's not nice. That's not great. I don't want that. So it has all my same problems with the combat, which Breath of the Wild, like the last 40 hours of the game, I ran past everything. Like, I did not fight things in that game. Just ran right past it because there's no point. There's no experience. So I don't need any crafting either at that stage in the game. I'd had everything. So I just leave. And that's a problem I think the game has overall. Fighting things one-on-one has always been a strength of the game, though, and there are moments like that, and that's fun, but man, as someone who got the platinum in Bloodborne, which I always bring up because it's like one of the only platinums I have no interest in going to this trial dungeon. Like, I have no interest. I think I got to floor 13, and I died, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing it again. I did it twice, or no, I did it like 3 or 4 times, actually. That was the furthest I got. It's just not fun for me to do. I don't find it very compelling. It's just okay. I think it almost feels like cut content to me in a way, like they originally had it, because the way you get the Master Sword in the game is you need 9 hearts or something. So it just requires you to have done a bunch of shrines and then you could get the Master Sword. It would have been better and more interesting if, to get the Master Sword, you had to do 15 trials of the sword, and then you get the Master Sword, right? And then there's 2 other sets of 15 trials you can do. And if you do one, you unlock double damage for the sword. And then if you do the final one, you unlock the ability for it to never break. That sounds super awesome to me. And it's like, oh, the Master Sword is a reward for your prowess, right? Instead of being, oh, you've played the game enough to just, here's a trinket, right? It turns it into an actual reward, because as someone who had almost 400 Korok seeds, all of the shrines, did everything I was really going to do in the game, a fully powered Master Sword permanently isn't that compelling. I have swords that are just as good as that, and the combat isn't that difficult when I have to do it, when I'm out in the world with all my stuff, that I need that. So it just doesn't jive with me quite right. And I feel like if you make the first set easier and you make that the thing you have to do to get the Master Sword, then we're talking, then we're getting somewhere. Instead, it's just a bunch of optional nonsense. Like, quite honestly, if you're good enough to beat the Trial of the Sword, you don't need a fully powered Master Sword. You don't. You don't at all. It's so crazy. Who is this reward for? If you're good enough to do that, just go do anything else in the game. You don't need it. It's just like another checkbox to check off. There's no actual reason to do it, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of, there's no reason to do anything, Ben. Shut up. I'm like, all right, fine. Fair point. but that doesn't sit well with me in a sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. And the third part, holding up fingers, the third part is the master mode, which has its own title screen. Like you go and you hit like, yeah, play in master mode, and then the game like whoosh, whoosh, back to master mode. And this is just a super hard version of the game. And it has flying stuff. Like that's really the only differences that I'm aware of, that it's more difficult. Enemies regain health over time, and there's the flying nonsense. And I actually like this because it's the full game, right? And you can go on your own little adventure like you have been this entire time and start collecting things. And I found Breath of the Wild is one of those games when you're playing it that you might think like, do I ever want to play this game again? Is it going to be fun to start from nothing and fight through to get to the cool stuff? Is that going to be something I want to do? And it was really nice and refreshing to see, yeah, the answer to that question is yes. Now, I'm running away from like every fight because they kill me in 2 hits, if not 1. And that's just the normal dudes. And there's no reason to fight. Again, like I mentioned previously, no reason to fight. No reason to fight. If I need to grind for materials, I'll do it when I need to do it. So I'm just mainlining the main quest. Mainlining the main quest. And I get to Kakariko Village, and within a couple hours, which was like 40 hours into my first game when I got there the first time. And it's fun. It's really fun to go back into that game and be like, oh, I remember this place. There's a Korok seed here. There's this here, and you're exploring in the same way you were exploring playing any other Zelda game for the second time. And it sounds stupid, but it is something I didn't expect to enjoy. Not even necessarily master mode, but just playing the game again. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I have. And I think since most of the battles are optional in Breath of the Wild and stupid and not worth your time, the bosses, which I thought were stupid easy because by the time I got to them, I was super powerful, should be really cool now. And I'm totally down for trying that stuff and getting things in a different way. Because I know how to craft and make these materials, it changes the game. The second playthrough has a different meaning and is in master mode, so there's an extra layer of, why are there flying balloon people here? I don't know, but I enjoyed popping the balloon and watching them fall off. And in master mode, I discovered that if you have a bomb near an edge, the edge of a ledge, bokoblins will kick it off the ledge, which is really cool. And I don't know if they did that before, because I don't know, right? I never had to use bombs so intensely. Like these fights, and the combat has always been bad, I think, when you're fighting 3 guys of any type, really, because they die in too many hits and they're just not fun to like target them, or they're now in master mode, they all kill you like instantly, so that's great. So you have to be smart about it, but not in a fun way, especially at the beginning when I have 9 arrows, like literally 9 arrows. It's not as fun to do that. But running around the world, discovering things, what the game does super well, the discovery of the wild, the titular wild, is the best part of the game. It is still here. It is way more fun than I thought to go back in and play the game again. Oh, and there's also the one other big feature was the line, the path of the champion or something, I think they call it. The line that goes over the map that shows you where you've been, which, as someone, like I said, who did all the shrines and got almost 400 Korok seeds without it. Oh, and the Korok mask, which is awesome. There were parts of the map like, oh, I never went there. Like, cool. I know there's no shrines. I know there's nothing super important there, but I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there and see what's up. And that's really cool to me. As someone who did explore a ton, I will probably, when the DLC comes out, the second one, go back and try and find some things that I didn't find before because I have that map. And the line is absolutely absurd. Like, it is just all, you can watch it. You can just sit there and watch it. I don't know how long it takes to go for, 100 hours of playtime. But you can watch it. And I think that's really cool and such a great feature. More games need fun features like that. In the same way Breath of the Wild does maps so well, where here's 700 pins put them all over. That is so smart. And they're like different icons for the pins. So smart. I wish, like, I'm playing Horizon, or I was playing Horizon last week. I wish that was something Horizon had. Like, I want to put a pin in this because I want to go back here for X, Y, and Z, right? This marker of a quest, like, isn't telling me enough. I need the marker to be this so I know it's a collecting quest or whatever. That's what I want from it. But I think overall, this DLC is something you can only buy it as a package, right? So you're getting the second piece of DLC. This DLC really is, to me, kind of all right, you paid money, here's some stuff. Here's some junk. Because literally, half of it is some junk. Master mode is a fine distraction. The trials are cool, but really not interesting for me. And then we have the items, which take about 3 hours to find them all, and then you have them, and I don't know, I guess you just enjoy them? I don't know. I guess that's what you do with them. It's fine. It's definitely for this DLC package is for the second piece of DLC, which hopefully lives up to the hype, what they're planning it on being. I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful, because even though I'm disappointed in this, it's not bad. It's not bad content. It's just like, all right, fine. We'll see. I'm super into whatever I'm doing right now, where I figured out the puzzle, but I'm just dumb and putting on pants for no reason. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine, Link. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. We'll see about your next time. Better luck next time. That might be what I call this. Better luck next time, Mr. Link. Ba-da-ba-ba. Oh, I have to change that. Watch out. Watch out. My keyboard worked. That'd be super cool. No idea why my keyboard only works sideways right now. It's weird. Oh, almost pressed the wrong button. Good job. And, oh no, not hollow like that. Oh my god. With 2 W's. Idiot. Stupid. Hollow Knight. The actual game I'm super excited about. This is something I bought on the Steam Summer Sale, and I expected to like it. It came out, I think, in February. I know it came out earlier in the year, and it's only on PC right now. It's coming to Switch and probably other platforms, and it totally should. And this game is going to blow up when it does. When this game comes to Switch and IGN finally figures out it exists, they are going to love the shit out of it. And so will every other outlet and blah, 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 blah. It is incredible. I think this is one of the best games of the year, bar none. It might be my favorite game of the year. It's certainly up there. It's also, in addition to that, one of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played. There's so many... It's like hard to even know where to start with this game. Because it does everything so well and so right. The exploration, finding these weird paths, seeing these weird creatures. It has that Dark Souls mentality of mystery, which some people really don't like, but it fits here in a Metroidvania perfectly well. Everything is this weird bug aesthetic. You're a bug. There's other bugs floating around doing bug things. And let's actually take a step back. So the most original and interesting to me aspect of this is the health bar and the soul meter, which are up here. And the little soul meter you got, you collect soul by hitting enemies. And you use soul to use these like magic abilities, which I don't use too often, and to heal yourself. So you have to stop and like charge up to heal yourself. So you're vulnerable to attacks. You're using this soul stuff to heal yourself. One little heart or little bug helmet. And the only way to get more juice to heal yourself, if you need it, is to go and fight more things. So there's a really nice circle there of like, crap, I need to heal. This is bad. Let me go find this easy enemy is over here. I'm gonna hit him a couple times and then I can heal. That's a great loop, in addition to having it tied to magic, in addition to having these pins, I think they're called, these like emblems that you can put on your body. You don't see them on your body, but you know what I mean. And you can equip them, and they do little things like, I have one where the slash damage or the slash attack is like 15-20% further. It just is a longer distance attack than the regular one. I have one where when I get hit, it does an auto counter attack like all around me, which is awesome. And then I have one where when I heal, it spawns a poison cloud that hurts enemies around me as well. And that's all customizable. And there are a bunch of these little pins too. There's probably, I don't know the number, but a good 30, at least 30 of them to collect and find and to mix and match to have your build. There's, in addition to that, there are different notches. So one of these pins might take 2 notches to equip, and you might only have 4 notch slots, right? And one of them might take 1, and you can do like mixing and matching like you could in any other game. That makes sense. That's how games work. And you can find a certain vendor that lets you purchase more notches or purchase more of these little charms. And that system just builds upon what we see right here are these super unique looking bug enemies with a combat system that is so much fun to play because of the different abilities you get, such as the dashing. And now I finally, like almost 20 hours into the game, I got the double jump, which is insane for a Metroidvania game. But there's something, you saw it a little bit here. The enemies do their own different thing. Like this guy might just run at you head on. This guy jumps into the air. This one's flying around doing other bug things. And it's so flashy and beautiful in the way it does it. It's very telegraphed. You never feel like, oh, you screwed it up. It's like, oh, damn it, I should have paid attention. I should have known that he was going to do that attack. And it could become annoying where like you're trying to heal, right? But things are constantly attacking you. And so you have to, in a boss fight, know like, okay, this is when he does this attack, I can jump out of the way and heal over here. But if I do it any other way, he's just going to beat up on me and I can't heal myself. So, and that goes and ties back into the whole healing and the soul mechanic in the first place. There's also other things like upgrading your it's a nail. It's not a sword, it's a nail because you're a little bug. Upgrading your nail and different other moves, finding these shards, which are like pieces of heart to upgrade your health, or finding these other fragments of whatever to upgrade your soul gauge and all that. And like, look at this room. Like this is a Super Metroid room. 100%. That is exactly what this is, and it's so good at what it does, and it gets so crazy. These areas you go to start to become super diverse. You're always traveling between them. It never becomes something that I feel like Dark Souls has a problem with, especially now, like Dark Souls 2 and on, where you're just teleporting everywhere. Like you still have to walk and make the journey and make these discoveries that you will along the way, but because you can't just teleport everywhere and ruin the experience for yourself, you see these things, you see these rooms like, I still can't get there, or I could finally get there now, and you only get that because you can't teleport everywhere. I think this is a very important thing to note for a lot of Metroidvania games like this. And what else? Oh, this game never ends. for all intents and purposes. It's somehow played about 20 hours of it. I'm at the very end, I believe. I think I can go. There's a couple areas I haven't been to, and I think I can go to the final. If it is the final area, I'm assuming it is. I think I can go to the final area now. But it is so incredible how this long into the game, I'm still finding entire new areas, fighting new monsters, new challenges that are, and they're everywhere. There's so many different aspects that you can look into. All these different moves and abilities. Like, what's this guy? This is yet another creature that has a different fighting style, that does completely different things from the other ones. These are flying around almost non-threatening. The world changes. This area itself that I'm in changes later on. Not to spoil things. There are platforming elements that get added in as the game goes on that make it super unique. There's the one thing I forgot to mention where you can down slash almost like a DuckTales pogo stick. You can down slash onto things and bounce off of them, which becomes super useful for combat where enemies have shields and you can't attack them head on, but then they raise their shield above their head and you're bouncing on their head and like dashing around and trying to bounce on their head to hit them, and you're bouncing on other things. There's a couple platforming moments where there's these hard shelled enemies you can't hurt. You're just supposed to bounce on them and keep bouncing as they move across the environment to get to the next platforming challenge. It's so smart and creative in that way. And there's a couple areas too that introduce their own mechanics of jumping that are unique to that area, right? And everything is so well in a world where we have gotten some really good indie Metroidvanias. I think the last one I played that I was super into was Axiom Verge. And around that time, I also played Ori and the Blind Forest. And Ori and the Blind Forest and Axiom Verge, both great games. But they don't have a ton of moves. There are a bunch of abilities in this game that not necessarily are new, but the way they're done is different. The way they're introduced and given to you has patience in it, which is something weird to praise, patience. But it's there, and it's something that you can only experience. Like, this game does not rush. It is a slow journey through it. It is not a 5-hour Metroidvania. Like, I loved Axiom Verge, but Axiom Verge is like 10 hours tops. And this is something that is so much deeper. The map is so much more involved in just the way it feels. Oh, that's the other thing too. The map mechanic. So each area of the game doesn't start with a map. You have to find, I'm actually going to walk right by him right now. The map guy. So there's a little page right there on the floor. You can see that. That's a hint that the map guy's around. And he's charting these worlds. And you don't have a map of the area until you find him and pay him for his maps. And that's in every single area. And you can't even see yourself on the map unless you equip one of those little pins, which requires a notch to use on the pins to see yourself as a compass point. There's so many unique ideas like that. Not even talking about the bug aesthetic is really cool. The way it has a bunch of other Dark Souls mechanics in it too. If you die, you lose all your money, and you have to go back and fight your soul, which is easy, but is something you still have to go back and get. And I understand it can be a slog. Some people will find that a slog, but it was in Metroid. It was always in Metroid where you died and you had to go back to the boss and walk all the way back. It was always there. And Hollow Knight does it in such a smart way to where there's a ton of optional secret rooms that loop back upon each other, or on themselves really, to where now you don't have to do that again. It's never going to have this challenging platforming thing you have to do over and over and over and over again. That was for the optional area that looped back on itself and brought you back where you were, and you just feel rewarded. It does that super well. You're constantly rewarded with new spots on the map, new items. There's a coliseum where you're fighting a bunch of things, and it all has these weird characters and this lore that doesn't make any sense, but does make sense. And it's so much bigger than you'd think. You'd look at this game and it's a cutesy little bug thing, and okay, sure, it has this kind of hardcore-ish combat where you're dodging attacks, jumping over enemies, being super smart with positioning, and when you can heal, when you can't heal, and the other moves you get along the way, such as clinging onto walls. change the game entirely. It's very interesting in that respect, and you look at it, and even with all that, you might not like, oh, it's a $15 game. This will be a good time. This game has so much content in it. It is insane. I think I'll probably finish the game relatively soon. It's one of the rare times I'm doing a review where I haven't finished it, but I'm like right at the very end, I feel like. And I've played enough. Like I could have reviewed this game after 10 hours and been like, nah, amazing. One of the best games I've ever played. One of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played. It is so damn good. It understands exactly what Metroidvania should be, where you see something and you're like, how do I get there? Or you get a new ability and you go, no way. That's the ability? Now I can go there and go there and go there. And it's so much fun to traverse the world, to explore, to find the secrets, to gather the money that you get to upgrade everything, to find these little secret wormy mans. And what does that mean? And how does that reward system work? And so goddamn good. This game is a steal. I keep circling back to a point I lost 20 minutes ago. This game is so beyond worth $20. I paid $10 for it, and it's highway robbery. This game is so much more. They could have charged $30 for this and really kind of gotten away with it, because it is incredible. And mark my words, the last time I said mark my words for something being popular, it was Prey, and it ended up not being as popular as I thought people were going to like it. But they were wrong about Prey. But people will, again, mark my words, love this game. This is something that when it finally happens, when it finally hits the mainstream and IGN wakes up and does a review for Hollow Knight, and GameSpot and whatever, I'm sure it did get reviews, but not from like the biggest places, because it came out Horizon and Zelda time. Once that happens, people are going to lose their mind. This is the game you've been waiting for. When it hits Switch, people are going to lose their shit. It is exactly that game that you want to play on the wherever toilet bowl. There's little weird mini boss encounters like this that come out of nowhere. There's so many different mechanics. It respects your time mostly, with these shortcuts like I talked about, and it's so much fun. It has that same feeling of a Dark Souls. Not as hard. It isn't easy, but I don't think it's overly difficult for the most part. There are a couple bosses that I think might be optional that I was annoyed by, but it has that moment of triumphing over these incredible odds of some giant dung monster who's throwing dung balls at you, and you're like, I didn't think I'd fight this, and there's things flying out, you're dodging and leaping, and it's just an incredible experience. Obviously, if you like Metroidvania games, like, look, I just discovered a secret. If you like stuff like that, you will love this game. It is so much more than just, oh, we made a Metroidvania game. Like, no, they made the game they wanted to make, and it's a Metroidvania game, and it is incredibly good, incredibly polished. Look at, like, this is the least interesting, visually the least interesting area in the game, I would say, and it becomes more interesting later on, actually, like I said. But it's the beginning, and you start, 20 hours into the game, and I'm discovering new areas, I'm fighting new bosses, I'm unlocking new things in a Metroidvania game. Like, this might be one of the longer Metroidvania games I've ever played. It reminds me a lot of Salt and Sanctuary, which I really enjoyed, which came out last year, which was incredible. But Salt and Sanctuary takes the Dark Souls and puts it into 2D. And what this did was make a Metroidvania game and put a lot of souls into it, a lot of the style, but it's still a Metroidvania game at heart. And that creates something that is very different and well worth the play. Cannot talk about this game highly enough. That's one complaint. This is a hot spring that heals you. Some poison water also looks like that. Kind of confusing. That's a little iffy game, just a little. But besides dumb complaints like that, the game is phenomenal. Definitely play Hollow Knight. Don't skip out on it. It's only $15. It's incredible. What a deal. What a deal. I feel like the Happy Mask salesman. Like, please buy it. Just do it. Just do it. I want people to buy Prey 2. So there will be a Prey 2. But this is the indie of the year for me. Like, bar none. I don't think anything could beat it. And I think if I really start looking at it too much, it might be my favorite Metroidvania game. Incredible. I'll just gush about this game for the next 20 minutes if you let me. That's the show. Recorded live every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/thegamefanatics. Obviously fanatical about this game. Not as fanatical as I am about my weird garbage that I put behind me. This is why I live alone. Next week will be... What will next week be? I don't know. We're getting into the weird part of the summer where not a lot's happening. I don't know if you saw my news reel at the beginning. There's nothing going on, in my opinion. So maybe some light weeks, maybe some weird, just evergreen topics. Who knows? Who knows? Who cares, Ben? Who you talking? Who said that? Thanks for hanging out. Merry Christmas. And buy Hollow Knight. That's your homework assignment. That's an easy one. That's an easy homework assignment. I mean, it costs money, but so do textbooks. Yeah, that makes sense.